right in. Some grooves in it. Fish carcasses. Don't forget we have our R, or pig's feet. Here we go. Stone crab season 2021 is underway. Welcome to today's video. This is going to be educational and to the point. We are going to teach you how to build, bait, and drop stone crab traps. My name's Emily, Amanda's behind the camera. We have our helper Kona with us today, and welcome to our channel, Gale Force Twins. First things first, we are going to teach you guys how to actually build your traps. Now, we got our traps from Cudjoe Sales in Big Pine Key. They actually sell kits that come in 5 traps. So fun fact, it's 5 traps per person with a recreational fishing license. Me and my sister are 2, mom and dad make 3 and 4, so we are gonna be having 20 traps out, which is super exciting, but each person's trap will have their name on them. So I'll have 5, Emily will have 5, Gale Force mom will have 5, Gale Force dad will have 5. So you can see we've kind of already gotten started, and we still have traps from last season that need to be repaired, but at any given point, you can only have 5 out per person with your fishing license. So we are gonna get straight to it. I'm gonna show you the 4 sides of the trap that are gonna come in the box. Now let's take a look at what comes inside our box. Every trap is gonna have 4 sides to it. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 of the sides are identical, and the other 2 are different. So one of your sides is going to have a chew out window right here. One of your sides is going to be just a straight side with a flat top, and your other 2 are going to be straight sides, but you're going to have squares on top. One more thing I want to note is every single trap has these little circles on the bottom of them, every single side, and that is where your concrete is going to be laid. So the circles are going to be on the bottom and inside of your trap. Now it's time to build our actual trap. So I always like to grab one of the sides with the squares on top, and then we are going to grab either the side that's flat on top or the side that has the chew out window. So we're gonna grab, we've got squares and flat. Those are the 2 we're starting with. You can notice that the circles are on the bottom and inside, because that's where your concrete's gonna go.
Let's look at the outside, Amanda.
Yes. And then the outsides actually would look like what I would think the inside would look like. The outside's a little rougher and bumpier. The inside's nice and smooth. One more thing to note is right here you can see there's kind of grooves to slide your traps together. So the flat top, flat side, most boring looking side of the trap has the grooves to slide in, and the side with the squares on it has the little straight piece that goes inside the grooves. Next thing I'm gonna do is grab my side with the squares on top, lift it up and slide it into the grooves with my flat top side, but I only want to slide it in about an inch, inch and a half, because now the next thing to do is grab your side with your chew out window, and we're going to slide your square top right into it as well. So that is the start to it. Now you kind of want to grab a mallet, or you can use your hands. Mallet would be easier if you're doing a lot of them, and we're going to push this down. Next thing we're doing is grabbing our last side, which again is the regular straight side across, squares on top, and this one's super easy. It just slides right in like so. So we have 2 sides with squares. One side that's flat on the top, the other side that's flat on the top but has a chew out window, and you will notice that if you look inside, all of the circles are facing inside and at the bottom of the trap for your concrete, and this is what the outside looks like. Really not a lot. The outside of all of them looks the same, except for the side with the chew out window. We're gonna have a nice window here, and I think Emily is gonna show you the next step. The next step is going to require either a drill or a screwdriver with a Phillips head. Guys, get the drill. Do not do the screwdriver. I mean, if you're doing only 5, it would work, but it would be time consuming. You're also going to be putting on the top, the throat, the chew out window, the hinges, and latches. The lid is going to go on this way, guys, where the square tops are the front and back essentially, and the flat tops are the sides. You cannot really screw this up because look what happens when I do it the other way.
It will only fit one way.
And don't stress it. If you put it on this way, that's totally cool too. This is where I like to start with the hinges. We're going to place the hinges on the lid and the top here. You see how it snaps into place. That's one. That's two. Now, if we wanted to, we could move on to the latches, but I like to screw the hinges on first to kind of give us more of a stable frame. All right, you guys can clearly see we just created some hinges for our top, and now we're gonna create the latches. Now this part is important. You guys want the back of the latch lined up all the way to the back of the trap here. If you have it too far forwards and you go to open it, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna get it like this, and it's going to be where you can't open it. So you definitely wanna have it all the way back, so when you go to twist your latch open, there's space for it to come open. Here goes the first latch, and the second one. You guys can see with the latch in the center and all the way to the back, I can twist my latch to the right or the left, and it will allow me to open the lid. It's kind of personal preference. If you wanted to have it all the way in the corner, you'd only be able to turn the latch one direction. As long as you can get the lid open and you're happy with it, that's what matters. The next piece is the throat, and this is what will allow sea creatures to get in and out. Now, keeper crabs probably won't be able to get out of this, and there will be some small crabs in your trap that you're going to have to throw back. But maybe fish can swim in and out, maybe a small stone crab will figure out how to get out. So this is kind of like a good safety for fish and sea creatures that are small enough to get in and out. This is super easy, guys. We're just gonna place it in and screw 4 screws.
It will not go on wrong.
Right into the trap.
Goes on one way.
Or that way.
Goes on one way. If it fits, if it works, you did it right.
The last step that's going to require the drill is the chew out window. Now guys, this is basically, or it is, it's not basically, this is a biodegradable piece of wood. So if for some reason a trap gets lost, maybe a boat runs over the buoy and then you no longer know where your trap is, this will biodegrade and it will allow sea life to get in and out if for some reason you're in a situation where you can't find your trap. You guys can see this is the chew out window and there's some grooves in it for the wood to go. Now, this step you could have done earlier when Amanda was doing it before you put the 4 pieces together.
Been a decent idea.
But this works too. So what I'm going to do is place the trap on its side. I'm going to open the top and simply place that wood right under there. Just going to come in here from the side with my drill and drill the window in. Drill the wood into the window, I should say.
There we go, that looks great. And also this is a step that you could do before putting any of your traps together if you wanted to. But Emily was on the drill duty and our system was working.
Now we're gonna get to pouring concrete and setting up your buoys and lines properly, plus labeling each trap. We're on the concrete phase. Amanda, would you like to show them our concrete bucket?
Okay, working our way. Here we have, this is the concrete that we have been stirring around. We're using a shovel, our concrete. Then we're using the little blue beach sandcastle bucket, scooping up our concrete, coming over here, dumping it, there we go, dumping it into our trap. And then Emily is using the backside
of a small bucket to kind of pat it down and push it around. And if you guys will notice, we're doing this on a tarp. You can do it on concrete. A few years ago when we first built some traps, did it on, cardboard. Cardboard,
oh
guys.
My gosh.
That was really squid brain. That was squid brain. So a few years ago, we poured our concrete on cardboard. Now we're pouring our concrete on a tarp. The concrete is where you'll see a lot of, or you'll hear The concrete is where you'll hear a lot of differences and opinions. So some people will do really thick concrete with rebar or nails to support the concrete. Now there's benefits, there's pros and cons to thick versus thin. Obviously the thinner, the more fragile, the more likely it is to break. The benefit is that it's lighter. So when you're pulling your traps, moving your traps, it's much lighter. However, if there's storms, the light ones, guys, if you have them light, you're gonna wanna go get your traps. You're not gonna leave them out there during big storms. But if they're thicker, they're more durable, the concrete's supported. So it's kind of personal preference. We don't do rebar or nails, and we just fill up that probably like bottom 2 inches with concrete. Make sure it's in all the crevices in the corners, really get it down in every little nook and cranny on the sides, and we've never had a problem. We've done this, we're going on year, what, Amanda?
5 or more?
5, probably about 5 years, and we have nice little layer of concrete, not supported. Never had an issue, but to each his own. Okay, so just so you guys know, this is the concrete we're using. We're using a fast setting concrete. Just get something fast setting. Last time we did this, we used a completely different brand. That's what Home Depot had. And we're just using the shovel, and that's our consistency, maybe a little bit thinner. And all we're doing is scooping it up, putting it in our trap, and there's the trap. Yeah. So Emily, we're gonna finish the concrete. We've got 4 more traps to fill, and then we are going to move on to labels, buoys, the knots we tie for the buoys, the leads. Is that it? Yeah. That's it? All right. Moving on to labels. We are using a label maker, and your label needs to have first name, last name, registration number, which you will get from gooutdoorsflorida.com when you get your stone crab license. And then you are going to need
your address.
Your address. There we go. So let's.
And what number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Part of your registration number. It'll include number 1, trap number 2, trap up to 5. So let's look at the label. Here is our label, so you can see we've got the first name, the last name, the registration number, and that number 1 is referring to trap number 1 out of 5 traps you would have in your name, plus your address, and we are just using some epoxy over that label to keep it stuck to the trap. Check it out. It is now the next day. Even though we use quick setting concrete, we still waited until the next day to do the lines and the buoys. Look at the concrete. Clearly you can see we are no professionals at pouring concrete, but guys, I don't think the crabs care, and it gets the job done. On a side note, we use 2 50-pound bags of concrete for every 5 traps. Now that is on the lighter side, so if you guys want to have thicker layers of concrete, make sure you grab 3 bags for every 5 traps. Now let's talk about the buoy. It is required, that's funny, required to have the R on it. Now the R does not stand for required. The R stands for recreational. We decided to have some fun with ours, and we first spray painted it with orange. Then we used painter's tape to make this R that looks like a kindergarten did it. And then we did black. We did black on purpose because we didn't want our buoys super out there into the open. So it's a little bit more discreet, but I'm gonna know where my traps are, but the world may not know where my traps are. You do not have to get this creative with the R. You could have just spray painted an R or used paint. I've seen people do lots of different things, but as long as there's an R on it, that's what matters. Next, we're going to tie our lines onto our traps. Now we cut our line in 15 feet segments. Guys, depending on the water depth, it's gonna depend on how long you want your lines. The kit comes with enough to do 20 feet per trap. So realistically, when you think about it, if you have 20 feet of line for a trap, you don't wanna put your traps in deeper than 20 feet of water, because then the buoys will be underwater. We put ours in 5 to 8, sometimes 10, so 15 is perfect, and it adds a little bit of extra room to tie our knots. How you tie your line to your trap is going to be personal preference. Some people will come in one corner and write out the next corner, so it's just on one corner. I personally like to come through the trap and have it like that and tie it on the outside right here. The knot you choose to tie is going to be personal preference, as long as it's something that you know will not slip. I personally like to tie a few half hitches, probably about 3 of them, and there you go, that looks pretty good to me. Now we have to slide our lead down the line and tie our lead in place. I slide the lead about halfway down, and I just tie an overhand knot and make sure that the lead is in the overhand knot. There you go, just like that. These lines float, so you might be thinking we're putting a buoy on it and then we're adding lead to it. Why are we adding lead to it? Now the lead is not so heavy that it's going to pull the buoy down, but it is heavy enough that if there were no buoy on it, it would bring the line down beneath the surface of the water. And the purpose for that is if there's a boat that drives by and cuts your buoy off, now it would be really bad if we had floating line with no buoy and then the next boat came by and got line all in their prop. So the purpose of the lead is if a buoy flies away, a boat drives over it, whatever reason, it brings the line down beneath the surface of the water to prevent it from getting into the props of other boats. The very last step for building the stone crab trap is to tie your buoy on. You guys can see we just did an overhand knot, slid the buoy on, and a second overhand knot. You guys will also notice that the ends of these lines are nice and clean. We actually cut them and burned them in order to prevent them from fraying. Guys, we will see you. We're gonna do it tomorrow. We're gonna drop them tomorrow, but it's gonna be, 3 seconds for you guys. In 3 seconds, we're gonna be baiting these traps and dropping them. Welcome to part 2 of how to build, bait, and drop a stone crab trap. We are now gonna teach you guys how to bait and drop a stone crab trap, and we're gonna go over the type of bottom you are looking for and the type of bait you need. So first we're gonna head out to our spot. We're gonna show you the bottom, then we're gonna go over how much bait we're putting in them, where we're dropping them, how far apart, all that good stuff. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is figure out where you wanna keep your traps. So we keep ours in what I would call mixed or rocky bottom. So it can be rocky with sand, with grassy areas, but you don't want strictly sandy bottom. We've done it before in sandy bottom and you pretty much catch either nothing or baby blue crabs. At least that's what happened to us. You're more than welcome to experiment. Maybe your fishery or your area is a little different.
How deep, Emily?
So we drop ours in like 5 feet of water. We know people that drop them in 20 feet of water. The depth, I don't think matters as much as the bottom does. So if by you, in order to find rocky bottom, you gotta go to 10, 15, 20 feet, don't be afraid of the water depth. By us,
you have enough line.
Yes, make sure you have enough line on your buoys because we have probably about 8 feet of line on our buoys. So I can't even drop it in 10 feet if I wanted to, but we also know that our preferred bottom is in around 5, 6 feet. At most, it would be 8. For stone crab, your choice of bait is going to be fish carcasses or pig's feet. Now, you could do either. There's pros and cons to both. The fish carcasses, I would say, work really well, but you have to pack, and I mean pack full, your trap of fish carcasses because they basically break down very, very quickly, so you want to have a lot in there to last the 7 to 10 days that you're going to be letting your trap soak. Then we have pig's feet. Now, pig's feet last a very long time, and you can put 4 to 5 in a trap, and they'll last pretty much 10 whole days, if not longer. You guys can see I'm putting about 3, maybe I'll add 1 more.
3 to 4 pig's feet per trap.
4 pig's feet.
That's
and
what we like to do.
It's basically a case of pig's feet split up over 10 traps. So some have 3, some have 4, some have 5. Just basically we take a whole case, which is like this big.
It's 50 pounds.
It's 50 pounds of pig's feet, and we split it up between 10 traps. Don't forget we have our lead, and about 8 feet of line. That is your choice.
The trap is going in the water.
We're gonna throw the trap in the water. Here we go.
There it is.
Stone crab season 2021 is underway. Check it out. Our next trap has the carcass. Now, if, like I said, guys, if we were doing all carcasses, I mean, this thing would have to be filled to the tippy top to the point where you can almost not close the lid. But currently we had a spare carcass in our deep freezer, so I figured I'd grab it for demonstrational purposes. So I paired him up with a couple of pig's feet. Okay, ready, Amanda?
Yes, next trap.
Going
In
down.
the water, send that buoy out. So drop the trap first, then the buoy.
Then the buoy. That pretty much sums up how to build, bait, and drop a stone crab trap. A little bit more information for you guys is it's the beginning of the season and we have 10 traps, 5 per person. And in the beginning of the season, we will drop our traps in maybe more experimental areas. So this time we dropped 5 in an area that did really well for us last year, and we dropped 5 in a brand new spot. If you have more, you can do 5, 5, 5, 5. You could do 2 and 2 and whatever you guys want. But in the beginning, we always experiment a little bit, and then when we go and pull them, we see how they did, and then that's kind of how we gauge where to put them for the rest of the season. Stay tuned for the next video when we pull these traps, guys, and see how we did. Hopefully we'll have a good load. Hopefully we'll get some more information about what the season's gonna look like. In the meantime, we want you to get out there, have fun, and stay safe.